Hi everyone, welcome on the Open Podcast with Michael. I hope you are doing well and I hope that this music gives you the desire to dance because me, it does. This song is called Ipanema and the woman behind the song is Stefania Dominguez and I am blessed today to sit down and have a wonderful exchange with her. So she left her ambitious music career of 20 plus years as an international singer, songwriter, and performer to live a truly fulfilling and divinely guided life. Today, she used all of her gifts and her services like yoga, music, speaking, writing, teaching, and so much more to help others on the awakening path to heal, to reclaim, and to redefine their relationship with the divine no matter what the divine means for you. So, in today's episode, we dive deep into what drove her to become a singer, how we forge our identity, and the never ending journey of self discovery, navigating through change and the death of the ego, music as a way to heal, our new calling, and so much more. And again, I hope that this episode will resonate for you. And if you want to follow Stefania, all the show notes will be, all the link will be in the show notes. And again, if it's aligned with you, if something resonated with you, share, click the subscribe button, follow, leave a review, give me feedback, share with a friend. Don't be shy and have an amazing day. God bless you and remember, my friend, you are loved, you are seen, and you are heard. Let's go. Have a beautiful listening. Good morning, Stefania. How are you?
Very good. Good morning, Michael. Thank you for having me here.
It's a
Beautiful to be
pleasure
here.
for Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure for me. So, welcome on the Open Podcast with Michael. I am very grateful to have you on. I'm pretty sure that beautiful stuff will come out this morning. So, just as a small introduction before we started, we find each other at the big one, a spiritual event with Kelsey, Skim Duramo, and Aaron Atke. And in fact, I went on stage because you you were cheering me on the back of me. So yes, that's the introduction for me and you. And after we just spoke a bit and we went eat tacos, and I realized how much of a beautiful soul you were, and we stay in contact from that point, and it was beautiful. And at that point, I learned that you were a singer that sang in a lot of country, and you have your own music on Spotify. So just to make sure that people know a bit where you came from and who you are, can you just would you love to introduce yourself a bit more and speak about why you were at the big one too, if your heart is telling you?
Sure. So it's so funny that you remind me of that. It lapsed in my mind that now that you say it, I do remember that she was saying if anybody is called to come up on stage and you raised your hand. And of course, there were many other hands, and I was directly behind you. And I was going like this guy right here. And I don't know why, but I just really wanted you to go up. And I think everybody around you, there was like a sphere that, wanted to support you. And it was for you. So that's so beautiful. Um, about me, I have, I can no longer say I identify with this personality, but for a long time, most of my life, I identified as a musical singer-songwriter, artist, performing artist, independent, international kind of achieving star in the making. And yeah, that was everything. I mean, because I loved to sing, I discovered singing, ironically, in private school and church when I was in the choir. Um, and it's interesting because it kind of comes full circle to where I am now, not back in church, because I know that church is in my own heart. And there's nothing wrong with actually going to church if that's what feels good and opening for you, and brings you closer to getting to know who you truly are and who your brothers are. So if that's bringing you towards that love and extension, then that's a beautiful thing. So But at this point, it's more sort of like a personal church, an
Mhm.
internal church. And yeah, it's just come full circle because through this huge and over 20 years of making music and really, pushing, trying to make it, working with big artists, big names, producers, and even smaller things, just really always with that vision, always with that outside goal and objective. Um, I started to really feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied. And I started to release finally my own music back to back. And I just got a really quick taste in a small amount of time of the grind.
Mm.
And I just felt like, I was just doing everything to please the world and, basically base my worth on what others believed about my music and believed about me as an artist in connection to that music. And it just felt like the emptiest thing to go towards. And I felt like a hamster in a wheel. So I just kind of had to make everything stop. And a big motivator to make everything stop was when I also had my child. She's 6 year old now, but then she was about 2. So I was really connecting with her, being very present, joining in nature and things. And so a aspect of my life was connecting to the slow presence and, just really being aware, and bringing love into the moment. And another aspect was on the go and the achieve, and the dream is mine and I'm gonna manifest it and make it happen. And then at some point I just had to release that when I realized that it wasn't truly fulfilling me, at least not the way and the way the world taught me it would come to me.
Mm.
And I looked at all the examples in the world and I couldn't see true happiness and fulfillment in any of them, even if they were famous, even if they were huge, even if they had 15 Grammys,
Mm.
which were all these people that I was looking up to kind of get to this space. And then I'm like, but really, is that what I want? Like, is that what I worked my whole life to achieve some status that actually is like a mirage? It's not really giving me any true water.
Mm.
Um, so yeah. And that took me on a journey to discover myself, to rediscover God, to rediscover Jesus as a person, as a teacher, as just and outside of the concept of the church, outside of the concept of sacrifice and, guilt and all these things that were connected to how I grew up as a Catholic. Um, well, I didn't practice it so much, but, we all grow up in the way that our family raises us. And so that was just mind blowing to me to come. And it was scary too, because it was connected with all this religiosity that I didn't want to be judged through, but I was feeling something different about it. And so it was just about opening my heart and trusting and going through that dark night, like when you're lost and all these things are coming up, all these doubts, all this, and just knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, quote unquote. So, and now I'm here on the other side doing other stuff and doing music very, very differently. So,
Yes, we will go through that for sure because I love the new vision you have with music. It's
mm,
just amazing. But before we go on that, I want to know more about like when you were young, when when everything started for you to say like I'm gonna be a singer, and like what was the driver? I know you spoke about like being famous or getting the thing or like, but if you go a little bit deeper, what was the inner fire to be a singer?
this is a beautiful question because I haven't talked about this much with a lot of people. And it goes back to church. It goes back to when I was in the choir. And, I still remember my choir teacher's name, Sister Helene. She was a sister. And she asked me if I wanted to do a solo. I'm guessing, teachers know who's maybe capable of a solo or maybe open to it. And I was a little nervous and I said yes. My friend also got asked. And I started to sing like verses while the choir sang, and then you do the verse, and that felt really nice and beautiful. And so I knew that there was something there. And then in the transgression of the year, those 2, 3 years that I was in elementary school, the main music teacher, so not the choir director, but the main, asked if I wanted to be the cantor of the church. And the cantor is the one that stands and sits next to the priest and leads the church in every psalm and every singing. Every time there's music, she stands up or he stands up and he leads, with call and response. And so this was more of like a leadership with music. And I remember the first time I did it, um, with the parents around. And when I finished, I felt so alive, doing this. And the response was
Mm.
like there was such a confirmation. So many people lined up to come, and I was just a kid, but to tell me, wow, your voice really touched me. It was so beautiful. This is this is so, this is for you. Your light is shining so bright, and I could feel it, and they were confirming it, and I just knew in my heart I want to do music for the rest of my life. Like I want to sing and do this. That was the moment.
That was the. And do you think that was a part of like, because I just during the last 2 years I had a lot of time to reflect on my own motivation to become a pro hockey player, and for
Hmm.
myself in the beginning there was pure passion around hockey, but of course when when I get bullied and when I fought and I showed that I was great at sport, I realized
Hmm.
that I could have love for being a good performer. So for you, do you have a sense, maybe a tiny sense that yes, of course, the passion of music was like putting fire in your heart, but there was also a part of you that just wanted to be loved and that she saw that there was love in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think also any child who receives so much love, the world is our reality at that point. And what the world reflects to us is like the truth. So, or we believe it to be the truth. It's the truth to us. And so that confirmation, even though I felt that fire in my heart, had I not received that confirmation and that praise, let's say, um, it might have not stuck to me so much. Like maybe this is what I need to do, and now it would be, I wouldn't need the confirmation from anybody. I would just need the fire in my heart, right? So there is this aspect of the world influencing your idea of your worth, and what it is like you said, it's like a symbol of love being shown to you, but then it becomes something we depend on, because no one's teaching us to differentiate like the true aspect of love and then what is praise in the world, and
Mm,
what is worthiness, and how we attach our worthiness to what the world thinks of us, to what our parents think of us, to all of these aspects, the things that are outside of us, pretty much. And so, uh, yeah, I would say definitely. But I would say also, just like you, as I grew and I knew that I had that spark in my heart, I got caught up in like that, getting well known and being the singer and being, and getting that attention. And there's no voice, let's say, or we're not aware of it yet, to say like, don't let that go to your head.
mm,
There's no truth in what other people are experiencing of you. And so like this was a big thing for me. I became very attached to the persona, the identity, the artist. That became who I am. That's what I am. What I do is who I am. Even with music, which people feel is so liberating and so independent and so different from the regular things, but it's just about the mind. How does the mind, what's our relationship to that career, to that job? It could be music, it could be anything.
and for how much time did it take to for you to realize that this is not what you want? Yeah, like you wanted to be that singer, but in fact, what
Hmm.
you want is maybe bigger than that. Like, how much time were you into music before having a sense of like,
Oh, yeah.
ma,
Listen, yeah. So that was about 3 to 4 years ago when that math happened, and um, so over 20 years, over 20, 25 years
Without any doubt.
of my life.
And it was without any doubt.
Within, you mean within those 25 years?
Yes.
Yeah, like this is what I am, this is what I do, this is my dream, I'm going, and this is, and I deal with tough things and rejections, but like, I'm going to surpass it because I believe in who I am. And so it's all coming from an honest place to just be better and to do what I love. And, there was no part of me trying to control this aspect. And what you realize now is that our unconscious is controlling so much of it. Our patterns are controlling so much of it, but that's the journey of undoing, of discovering, of self-discovery, yeah, of healing. So,
And where do you think that this inner fire of like, I'm going to be that singer, I'm going to, like you said, you overcome a lot of rejection, and like some people fall into victimism, some people fall into being an overachiever, some people like fight
mm,
things. Like, where does this inner fire come within you?
mm. For me, I think it was really a belief that I was deserving, that I was capable, that I was good, and maybe even that I thought I was better. Like, like I didn't feel victim to things, but I did feel like I had many capabilities and I was just really good at them and I just deserved to be seen, to be heard. I just had the gifts and the world needed to hear it, needed to hear me, needed to know me, and I somehow needed to be known by them.
Mhm. And do you think that at one point it was the only attention that you really seek was your own?
Yeah, I know that now.
You realize
Um,
that now.
yeah, Yeah. It's even like synonymous in relationships, right? Like we're
Mm,
seeking a partner who's going to love us and who's going to see all the best things in us and is going to make all these special moments with us. And it's not to say that that partner doesn't exist, but partnership is a moment to moment thing. Like it's a day to day thing. It's an, it's extended over, seeming time, but really it's the moment. And we're two seeming individuals who are having our own ideas about life, and the partnership is we can easily get caught up in wanting the other to fulfill certain things for us, which is codependency, which so many of our parents lived in through that and maybe still do, and many of us do, but we're becoming aware of it. And so I think the gift of becoming aware of that, if you do the work and you know, expose it in a safe space and really let it out, and begin to really analyze all the things that where you've been people pleasing, where you've been doing it not because you think it's true to you, but because you think it makes the other person happy, or to avoid fighting and to avoid, it's all these aspects when really all you're doing is truly desiring for your own self, your own true self with a capital S, to be revealed, because the true self is pure love. It's all that love that you ever wanted. It's wholeness, right? It's like this pure aspect that's complete, that needs of nothing else. And in that completeness, you may also find a partner and choose to share your wholeness. But it's like a choice. It's not a dependency. It's a moment to moment. I'm here because I want to. I'm here because, we heal each other, we expand together, we can we can extend more to the world together. And in this relationship, there's so much we can feed and learn from each other and grow, versus like I need you and I don't know who I am without you. and what will happen if this ends and our world can crumble and my identity is lost. Very different spaces to be in. So the same thing in a relationship, same thing
Within yourself.
as well with career or, job choice, work.
It's a beautiful vision of seeing relationship with yourself and with others too. And of course, we know each other a bit, so I know that this was not always, you were not born with that philosophy. It's a beautiful philosophy that you learn and evolve with the inner work that you've done. Um, I'm curious to know, how does this philosophy build on itself, like during the years? Like when does everything started for you to see every relationship or everything as an opportunity to evolve and grow and love more and be more with the universe? Was it part of your
Mm.
awakening, or it started a little bit earlier with other
Mm.
relationship, for example, or what was the process of?
Yeah, I think we're always in a process of development towards that. Even if we don't consciously know it, we're seeking that. But for me, the like absolutely coming to knowing that I was being dependent, that I was choosing partners through what the world could say is trauma or through blockages or through egoic patterns. There's many words for the same thing. It's anything that's really impeding our own light to shine through. Um, and so I became aware of that through my awakening. Like my inner work, the work that I've done internally has been always, since the moment of my awakening, something that was very divine for me, a very divine experience. Um, so it wasn't like I came across some people who were doing inner work or I went deeper into psychology or no, it was, I don't know who I am because I've realized that musically I'm going here. This is really not what I want. So if I don't want that, I need to take a break because that's the only identity I know. And as I took a break from that, I stopped everything that I do with music. And I just was like a mom. I was just a present person who happened to have a child and give all the love to whatever was in front of me. But by doing that, I was like, if I'm not this, which is what I've always been, and now this has fallen away, then who is this?
Mm.
And that
Mm.
became a huge question for me because how do I define myself now? Like, I'm not doing any of that. Even if I'm taking a break, like, I have no idea where this is going to lead. And all I know is that I need to let go of it because that feels like the next right step, the next most freeing thing. And I have felt immediate peace. I never felt more peaceful in my life when I let go of the idea of being a superstar international singer, or just even if it was an independent singer with a career and people following me in this whole thing. So
Mm.
that question was always big for me. And so I didn't do inner work per se. I just went there and then I opened myself to a path that led me to God. And there are many paths that lead to God, but this was mine. And for me, it was like, I didn't know that then, right? It's like there is a process of revelation of how this all these concepts come. When it's happening, I'm just kind of trusting, I'm feeling, you know, but I don't have all the wording because in the end the wording doesn't matter. The wording is like a symbol of the experience, but all that matters is the experience of true, you know, true love, of being the self of God. Um, of like real oneness, of innocence. These are all words that sort of like signify the same thing. And because I opened my heart and I took that leap, I could say that, now I would use the word Holy Spirit or the Spirit revealed all my trauma to me
Ooh.
over time. It revealed my blockages. Yeah. And I started to journal. I have maybe 5 to 6 full journals of writings that are just kind of sitting there, of just downloads, revelations, insights that came on a daily basis in this time of awakening that I had. And I knew that it was that because I'm not a like writer. Like I write songs. Songs are short and sweet. I'm not like a writer. It wasn't, I can see that I have the possibility to do that, but I knew it wasn't me because I wouldn't just grab a journal and fully write extensive amount of things. This was coming through me. This was given to me, and I was just what they call automatic writing. It's sort of like a type of channeling in a way. And that in itself was proving to me that I was being guided because, if I had questions or doubt, like what's going on, this was like evidence, pure, straight evidence. This is not just me. I don't have this full understanding. These words are not just mine. And so that was very, very revealing, very life shifting for me, to have that view and to be revealed those truths. But it is sort of like over an extensive part of time, The awakening was maybe in between 1 or 2 to 3 months maximum. But then that revelatory time of like exposing myself, of writing, of really going deeper, let's say within my unconscious that was not conscious, all of that coming up was over the next 6, 8, 10 months.
Mm. And was there any fear around letting go of the Stefania you thought you were?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I can feel
Yes.
that.
Yes. And that fear moment is for me the dark night. The dark night of the soul is these days where we are I know where I need to go and I see the light now and I see truth and I can feel truth too, but I am so freaking scared. I am so I don't know what the F is going on. I think I might be going crazy. And you just get like spurts. I would get spurts of tears. Even on my Instagram, there are some when I finally got the courage to share some of those videos. Why? Because I actually just recorded myself talking because I wanted to, not with the intention of posting, but just to like, I felt like I needed to talk to someone and I didn't have anyone to talk to. And so I just recorded myself so that I could speak because I knew that that could be helpful. Something in me knew that that could be helpful. And the more I spoke, the more tears come like that when you're starting to speak. Even in the Kyle Cease event that we met, like he knows when you start and you face someone, not only when you're speaking something do things come out, but now do it to someone else. Look while they're looking at you, and see the emotions that arise. More comes up because now we're self-aware and we're like, and I think that that's the dark night, the moment of really high doubt. Like it's sort of like an internal battle, like what seems on the surface to be a spiritual battle almost, because one thing is telling you one thing, safety is what you were, but you can't be what you were ever again, but you don't know who you're going to be, but you know that you're headed that way and that you have to trust, but it's so hard to trust. It's kind of like this huge mix and knot of things that are just there to be released. And so that was the experience for me with your question. Yes.
It's a hell of a journey when you fall into something that you don't know. And that's where you can really meet with God or the universe or whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
it's so curious, or not curious, because like me, there is no coincidence, but it's so beautiful that you phrase it like that right now, because I'm on my journey
Mm.
right now. The thing you spoke about, I feel it right now. I've never felt
Mm.
scared, afraid, lost, confused ever like I am right now. And I've realized through my own just reflection that yes, of course, my podcast in the beginning, my intention was just to follow my heart because something has speak to me to just post it. And I just wanted to make a little difference in people's life and to help people to be open with them. But what I've realized and what I've came to also realize about myself is that through that podcast, I also speak within myself, for myself. So last
Mm-hmm.
week,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2 weeks ago, I recorded an episode, and when I record episode, people don't know, but I will say it right now. There is my phone that film you, but on the other side there's a mirror, and I'm straight, like, face to face with myself. And during the podcast, I felt in tears because I had someone to speak about the thing I really felt. And why I love about what you said is that you've not overcome, overcome is not the right word, but you get through that in a beautiful way. And by speaking with you on a frequent basis, I can feel the sense of freedom, peace, love.
Mm.
But I can guess that at that moment it was not the case. So what would be your advice? Not advice, but what would you say to anyone who faces a storm like that, or who are even not conscious that maybe this is what they are going through, but they are in a place in their life when they don't know anymore?
Yeah. Two things come to mind for me. One thing that you just said, find people around you that exemplify that light, that can um, that give you sort of a direction. Not because they speak to you, they could be someone you just follow, or you know, you see. Definitely someone who's been through the journey, but that, like you said, having someone around that can really make you feel like, okay, this is possible. Like these people wouldn't, half of the world or all the people that we're getting exposed to that have gone through healing, that are getting to the next stages in their lives and their whatever page of their book, but they still had to grow through stuff to get there. And just the fact that they have allows me to have faith, you know, greater faith in what the bigger orchestration of all of it is versus this um, tiny moment that feels so huge,
Hmm.
you know? And actually that makes me think of how many other things have we moved through, to not say overcome like it's some sort of battle or something, but moved through. How many things have you already moved through in your life, right? Whatever it may be, that felt so huge in the moment that you were living it, and now is a tool, a memory, something that has strengthened you, something that you might even be grateful for, even if it was tough. You know, we've all had that, and so we can recognize, all right, I've been through crap before, and I'm still here, and I'm okay. Um, but this one just seems big because this one is connected to truth. This is connected to identity, and so it's only normal that it's going to be a big, deep shift, and there's going to be a lot of internal um, fighting forces, let's say, from past patterns that they're not ready to let Mikhail go, are not ready to let Steph go, and be their true selves. It wants to remain safe, and so, which is like this inner child energy, the wounded child, and so you trust, you have greater trust. Your trust is greater than the moment that you are living right now.
Oh,
Yeah, I feel like that is very helpful.
amen. When trust is bigger than what you are going through.
Mm.
This is the key
Yeah, you
where
could.
you don't know where you're going, right?
Yeah, you could always say that. My trust is bigger. Like something's happening, my trust is bigger. Boom. It kind of brings you back to like, okay, there's some centeredness. There could be all this chaos around. It's kind of like the hurricane that came this way. Just
Mm,
makes me think, there's all this wind, all this stuff, all this rain, all this, and the center is still.
mm,
And so my trust is greater is like bringing you to the center of the hurricane, no matter what's actually seemingly going around. And sooner or later, it dissolves into
mm.
back the ocean and back into whatever it needs to be. So, um, yeah. And oh, one thing I wanted to add, which was the second thing, many of us go through egoic deaths. We know, like a pattern dies. And so this life is full of these moments where when something is dying within us, it is hard. Like we're ready to move to the next step, but there is And there is this internal struggle to let that go. And some people lose themselves thinking, whether it's the relationship, the job is gone, the relationship's gone. Um, there's so many forms in the world that we think I don't know, our body, we have symptoms, we've got a diagnosis. Um, we've lost, we're a guitar player and we don't no longer can use our arm. Whatever it is, like something that completely dismantles and redirects your expected path, what you thought you were supposed to be, what you thought you were supposed to go on. This is an invitation to an ego death because something greater is calling you, and it's so hard to see it because of what's actually manifesting in form. And we really get stuck on that, and we think that we're dying.
Hmm.
And many times we commit suicide or we make decisions based on this death, which is really the pattern that is dying, which is really, the codependency that is dying. And we can't see that because we're so stuck on the form of what's happening and not really what we're being guided to, which is unimaginably bigger and more loving and more expansive than what we could know. But because we're here, many of us choose a step that could be a fatal step to the body, not ever to the spirit, but a fatal step to this experience, because the egoic identity is so dense, so heavy, so attached that if we had the guidance to know that difference, that we have the ego, right, but it's not really who we are, then we can be like, oh, okay, maybe this is what's happening to me. If I had that knowledge, I wouldn't get so caught up in my darkness. Yeah.
Hmm. It's beautiful. It's like the death of the caterpillar to become a butterfly, the butterfly that you
Mm.
always and that God wants you to be, but that you stick with the caterpillar because you're pretty sure that you will, like you said, be dying in the process of
Mm-hmm.
become this butterfly.
Yes, and you're like, wait, what about the caterpillar? I was like the best caterpillar in my mind. I wanted to do this at a caterpillar, and I had this plan as a caterpillar. I wanted to eat all those bushes, and
Yes.
now,
Yes, and now I
what do
cannot.
you? I
Why?
can't do it. What is happening? What do you mean? Everything is finished. No,
But when you
darling, everything
know,
is just beginning. Yeah,
yes, and when you know that you can fucking fly, what about eating? Like, you don't give a fuck about eating if you can fly. I will talk for myself.
exactly.
Ah,
No, that's right. That's so true. And once you're there, you're like, oh, this is what it's about.
yes.
This is what flying is. Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Thank you for sharing, and I have the opportunity to connect with you on a daily basis, and just by speaking with you, I know, I feel, I sense this sense of flying, this sense of peace. And
Mm.
I know that something that have played a big role in your life was a beautiful book called A Course of Miracle, which is not just a little book. It's a Bible 2.0 for people that have like postgraduate in theology. It's like an amazing, big, beautiful stuff, which is like a big training for the mind. How
Hmm.
this book came across your life, and how does it change your life?
Two amazing and big questions.
Hmm.
So it comes into my life because in my awakening, like I said, I opened myself to get to know God, right? Like, what is God? Because for me, it was like universe. I'm
Sorry,
also a yoga instructor. Yes, go ahead.
just before you go on that, because sometimes when we speak about God or the universe or Holy Spirit,
Hmm.
like it was for myself, the first image that come to mind is the Catholic one, where there is like the paternal vision of God. Just for um, everyone that will listen on the show
Clarity.
to
Hmm.
clarify what you mean by God, because I know that this is not the version of God that you are speaking about. So just before you
Right.
go into that, can you clarify a bit more, like what is through
Yes,
God?
absolutely. First and most, God is love. right? So God is this complete, unidentifiable in form. We're not putting a shape on God. We're not giving God a gender, even though our language limits us to he or she, right? But in truth, we know that God is no gender. God is, if you are whole, then you are not either one or the other. You are not dual, right? So, and for me, and what the Course in Miracles teaches us is that God is the ultimate spirit, which is just light, ever extending, pure, loving, eternal light that knows not of darkness, knows not of judgment, because would he/she know of any of that, he would be dual,
Mm.
and he's complete. She's complete. It just, God is, and everything else stops. Everything else ceases to be. You don't need to say anything else, because that is the truth. God is. And we're all coming to discover that connection between us and God, and ultimately that it's within us. That's who we are. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Thank
So
you
that is the
for the,
God, right?
yeah.
Not the concept of someone separate, outside, either judging, upon us, making decisions upon our lives, and saying, she's being good. This is not the God. No punishment, no reward. It is just an all extending light of love,
Mm.
which is our true essence. And the closer we get to it, the more we experience it. Yeah.
Yes, I find for myself and for other people that I've talked with that just thinking about love, this is God. Like you have love within yourself, you can see love everywhere. This is God. Like, but when you
Mm.
get like God, is it something outside of me? Is it like Allah, Buddha, Jesus? Like, no, just think about
Mm-hmm.
love. Just think about love.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, to come
Yeah.
back full circle to the other question, which was, um, where did you find the Course of Miracle and how did it change your life?
Okay. So when I opened myself to this question, who is God? Because I've always been a spiritual person. I've always believed in the goodness of humanity. I've always believed in a greater force that kind of is in everything. Um, but for me, it was like the universe was a safer word. It wasn't really because I believed the universe was the universe, but really it was like the universe was the safest word I could use without me feeling any judgment upon it, and without worrying about people judging me. Because I
Mm,
did grow up Catholic, and I had many questions when I was little, and they were very much kind of rejected and put out, and well, because God said so, and that's just the way it
mm,
is, and
yeah, sure.
and so for me it was like, okay, I guess this is just not what I believe in. So um, what I didn't realize that I did back then is that I threw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. So the moment that I was like, well, this doesn't really resonate with me, it wasn't a conscious thing, but I basically said, okay, well, I don't believe in this religion, and this divisiveness on this dual, like devil and God kind
Mm.
of, fighting at it for humanity thing. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It seemed like a very human understanding of God, a human definition of God. And I was just like, okay, I just let it go altogether. And for me, it was like, okay, so I guess I just don't believe in God, because that's it. No one taught me I could still believe in God and have a personal relationship with that force, that life force, right? With that creative energy, with that light, and that I was part of it, and that the church or doctrines or dogmas were just something that was created by humans, and in their own understanding, limited understanding, wherever they were, they created these sort of rituals to, get closer to the unknown, to the great mystery. But it didn't need to be like that way. You could find your own way. I didn't have that. Most of us didn't have that explanation.
Nope.
So it's like, for us, God, church, one thing together, Jesus, are all one big thing. So if you let go of one, you let go of all of them. And that's what I did. And so me opening up again was realizing that I had an aversion to the word God. I had judgment, and now I had all this time since I released my musical identity, and it's 2020, coincidentally. Like literally, I
Oh,
had a lot
okay,
of
it was
time.
that year.
It was year 2020, yes. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I could go deeper into this question. Also, my daughter's dad, who was my husband at the time, he's a beautiful example of someone who had a very close and direct relationship with God, not about so much about church, and was never forced upon. And he'd always hint at, like, I think you might have been taught a little wrong about God. Like, I don't know. But he never forced it. I would just witness his own relationship prayer and things where I would do gratitude and yoga and but I always thought it was beautiful. But just knowing that I thought it was beautiful, I can see how my heart was open to it already. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I literally went online and Googled, how to talk to God, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to be open to this, but I have to kind of do the steps. And it said, if you want to talk to God, Google responded, if you want to talk to God, um, read his word.
Mm.
And so for me, it was like, okay, his word. And I'm like, what's his word? Really, in a very innocent way, what's his word? And then it's like the Bible is his word. And I was like, oh, okay, that's his word. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's his word. So I had an aversion to the Bible. So that was like another hump to like I want this, but I don't know if I want it that bad that I'm going to sit down and read the Bible. And so I ended up deciding to do it because I had time on my hands. I ordered the book, made sure it had like little places where I could put notes. And then it sat there for another couple weeks. I saw it every time I'd come in the home, and I was like, And then sooner or later, I just was like, you know what? If I don't do this now, when am I going to do this? So let's just, take that journey. And I did. And so my journey, even though it has ended up with the Course in Miracles, it sparked and it started through the Bible,
Okay.
which for me is very symbolic. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I just said all right.
Oh, yeah. So it started with the Bible because I opened myself up. I remember having it on my lap. I would have to wake up early before my daughter woke up. And I would just think, okay, just open this book up like a girlfriend recommended it and was like, hey girl, check out this book. It's got really cool stories in it. I think you're gonna love some, like you're gonna connect with it. Something that would make me feel like when I'm opening up this book, I feel curious and open and I don't have past judgments and um yeah, like heaviness connected to it. So that's what I did. And it allowed me to really be open to whatever the book was going to um, gift me. And I started with the book of Luke, which was one of the Gospels. And I know that much of the Bible in itself has been tampered with, filtered. There's a lot of stories that, and we have to give credit to the people who really had a connection to the Spirit and extended their teachings, but extended it also through their own egoic experiences and the times that they were in.
Mm.
So there's no judgment there. It's just sort of like an understanding that, it's passed through a lot of hands and a lot of eyes and a lot of, structures. But I didn't think about all that when I was reading that. I can understand that now, but I just opened myself and I started reading, and I was reading the story of Jesus, and his parables. And over the course of a month, waking up every day, super motivated, I was so excited. I started to realize that most of us don't really understand Jesus. Like,
Mm.
I don't know, it felt like a revelation. Like, how come I never understood this guy before? Like, this, I'm understanding him now, like what he's really trying to say, like, um, blessed are the poor, for they shall see God, and like, you know, um, blessed are the poor in spirit. And you're like, those who are down and, not feeling happy and but also those who are poor in spirit. Like they have no connection to their truth. They have no connection to vision, the vision, the spiritual vision, and yet they are blessed. And so I started to understand that this love was something that was beyond just the regular love that we were thinking about, like doing something good for another. Like there was an unconditionalness about it, something like so beautiful and overarching that I went deeper into finding out more of Jesus, and all went into the Bible and looked up etymology, the root words in Hebrew and Greek and Aramaic, because I love languages. I've also taught languages, and so it's just like something that I'm really into. And I discovered that all these words that have really heaviness to me, for example, sin,
Mm.
in Greek, sin means missing the mark.
Oh, wow.
That's, like how much heaviness is taken off of the word if we just kind of switch that little chip and put it in and realize that every time sin was mentioned, specifically by Jesus, maybe not by others, but, it's really saying, hey, there's a mark and I'm trying to show you where it hit the mark, but you're missing it. Your choices are missing the
Whew.
mark. Your vision is missing the mark. So I'm just trying to redirect you back to the mark. And I was like, this stuff, like tears, just like, oh my God, this is the truth. It's like all this stuff. And it was just so beautiful, revelatory. Words like repent in Hebrew means just like really, coming clean, a clean slate. It's not like, oh, I've done the Catholic, I've done it, mea culpa, but it's like starting again, fresh, anew. And so these words start to lose all this heaviness that have come through the egoic patterns that have gone through time and understanding the egoic vision of pain and suffering and guilt. Guilt is the big one.
Mm.
And so, long story short, I revealed that love through that. I feel a really deep connection to Jesus, angels, and there's more to go there specifically with I had a very personal vision, and it was just an affirmation of the path that I was on. Like Divine was telling me, we see you. We see that you're discovering this. You're discovering this about yourself and about us. We're with you.
Wow.
You're not alone, because it could feel very lonely when we're starting to go into these things. And that was just like, oh my God, like it felt like I could really sense the love of God, the innocence in all people. I would see Netflix. I remember I would come across Netflix. There was like a murder documentary series about life sentenced murderers that are like that have full life sentences. In any other moment of my life, I would have clicked over that documentary. Not, it has that ominous music and it's talking to people in prison and it shows the murders, like it recreates like what happened and why these people are where they are. And in that state of love that I was in, that I had discovered, I wanted to see everything. And I clicked and I would just watch and I could see their innocence, not in their actions and not in their choices, but I could just see it in their hearts, and that we're all just these children of God and we've lost our way. We've missed the mark. And so, yeah, it was just like so much revelation in I would say like a span of 6 to 10 months. And while I'm discovering this, I realize that I really want to get to know Jesus more deeply. Like I know that he has more to give, that the Spirit, there's something deeper. And then I remembered that when I moved, my mom left me a bunch of her spiritual books. She's been someone who's been an example of being on the journey and, dabbling and discovering. And she had the Course in Miracles. It's a blue book. It's actually, I can't move it because it's right here. It's holding up my camera. But it's a blue book. It's here with us. And it's about that thick. Yeah.
Yes, it's freaking
And
huge.
yeah. But don't let yourself be deceived by the size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, so many thoughts come up. I basically was like, oh my God, where's that book? Because I remember her saying, it's kind of like a book of the lost teachings of Jesus. That's how she put it. She was never a full course student, but that's kind of what she understood. And when she had told me that originally, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But it never went further than that. But in that moment, I remembered her words and I was like, where is that book? And I went and found it and I opened it and started reading. And I just remember feeling like the floodgates of love and tears and affirmation, confirmation, like this is true. This is the truest of the true. Like, and I just felt such an affinity and connection with Jesus also. That was a big part of my struggle, being connected to Jesus, something that was always connected to like fundamentalism, Christianity. So just the idea of Jesus has been a big healing part for me, to unbox him and to unbox God from all these things that we put them in. And I knew it was for me, but like, how do I explain this to the world? Like, I'm just a singer, like, or that's what I was. And it was just about kind of just trusting the process, like really going back to that divine connection. And the course is now a part of my life, my daily life. And I want to say, I want to disclaim this. The course is a course in joy. It's called the Course in Miracles, but it's really a path of joy because it's releasing all the things that block us to love, to true joy. And it's making us aware of it. And yeah, now I was invited to facilitate a group um, where people can start joining, on this
Which
platform called Awakenpedia.
I'll put it
It's
on the show
interesting.
note
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, you can share it, and
for
whoever
sure.
would like and feels the call to join can, of course, join. So yeah, that's the full circle. I don't know if that was too long. Sorry.
Never too long. Honestly, I can just sit back and listen to you. You have so much to share around everything, and it's so beautiful. And you mentioned something that stuck within my head. You said, like, what can I do to spread this message? I'm only a singer. Ma,
hmm
that's curious because where you are right now is beautiful. Like you bring back spirit into music, and
Yes,
it's
yes.
not you are in your beginning, you are in your discovering of what you want to do with that. But I'll put the link in the show note too, where people can find the spirit song of the remix
hmm
and spirit song that you are doing. Do you want to talk more about this? Because I'm really pumped about that, and your music are really beautiful. And I think music can be a big shifter for to spread a message of love, to spread a beautiful word. So yes, share more about that because just me when I listen to your song, it touches my heart directly. So yes, I just want you to speak more about that. I think that the world has to know that.
Yeah, music is a frequency. And so whatever frequency you give out within that music is the frequency that can be shared. All these rhythms and sounds are coming together to create a harmonious song. And when in tune, when all the aspects line up, they really strike a chord within us, a divine chord, I think, that like rings into eternity because we're starting to recognize ourselves. So I think, yes, music is a beautiful, beautiful tool to reach awakening, to reach the truth, to access our emotions for release so that we can then access truth. Because sometimes we can get stuck in music because music brings us towards our emotions. But if we're not guided to, or if we're not aware that emotions are to move because they're energy in motion, emotion, if they're if that's not an awareness that we have, then we can get caught up in the emotion and just linger there when really they're made not to be recalled, but they're made to be accepted and sort of moved through, right? Sort of like a channel, again, like a vessel. Um, and so yeah, using it in, so I would say that the relationship to music is what is healing. Music in and of itself can be anything, there's music on the radio that can send a certain message that has come from a very sad place in somebody. So music is a tool for expression, but when it comes to healing and receiving and maybe even guiding us towards awakening, um, I think the relationship that the writer has to the music and the the message that is being spread within the music, like the understanding of the music is what takes you deeper, um, combined with the sounds, right? So it's like this whole frequency experience. It's beautiful. Um, and yes, for me, once I realized that I was getting all these downloads, writing all these things, going into my inner work, going into my past through writing, and then also I started to see things anew, even as a mom. That's another part of the journaling aspect. And I'm going into this because this was a big turning point for me to realize that I now see different.
Mm.
And so I began to see things with my daughter sort of like through the eyes of spirit or through the eyes of God or, with spiritual vision. So, an example, she would be eating and she wouldn't want something. Like, she was in her high chair and I would give her something and she would say, "Bleh," or like not want it, right?
Yeah.
But I was in my awakening, right? This is post awakening moment versus pre mom awakening. And so before you worried, oh my God, she's not getting her nutrients. Every mom knows this moment that we all freak out about, like them not eating what we think they should be eating. And she's doing this, and in that moment, I can see that she's not picking her food. And I think to myself, how interesting, the child being offered the most nutritious food again and again, and she does not want it because she prefers something different. And and then I thought, but I will keep providing it because I know one day she will pick up the food. And when she picks up that food one day, she will realize what she was always missing. She will feel the nutrients hit her body. She will accept it in a way that she has never before. And in that moment, I realized, wow, this is what God does with us. God's love is always putting the food in front of us, and we're always rejecting it, thinking that we think it's bad. We think it's not good for us. This love is always there. And the child is saying, no, 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 because it looks this way, because it looks that way. And God is saying, okay, I will just continue placing the food until the day you're ready. So I had revelations like this. This is one of many with my daughter. And so, we are the children and God is the mother, realizing that she just doesn't have to fight it, that she can just place the food, that she's doing her part. And so stuff like this allowed me to see that I was sort of, things had been translated for me. And then music, being such a big part of my life, started to be translated. I could hear Spirit, God speaking to me through music, specifically through one song, which was an Adele song that I used to always like, which was my first Spirit remix. Because I wasn't sure about God yet, and I was in that path. And then I heard this song and it brought tears to my eyes. And it's like, it was just so revelatory. I'm trying to think of the song right now, and it's one of my Spirit remixes, but um, when the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there's no one there to dry your tears, and to make you feel my love. This is the song. And so there's a part that says, I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I will never do you wrong. And so just this whole part was
Oh,
like, I
that's
get
beautiful.
goosebumps. And so I could now no longer hear Adele. I heard there was no person singing this
Oh,
song, rather, it was the message of love trying to reach all of us. And sometimes we think it's a person and we miss the mark. So it's just so interesting. I realized that I was retranslating, and then I got to the point where I had the confidence enough, and I had a student that I was giving classes to, and I told her about my idea to do a spirit remix, to get a song that I know people love and I've loved, and then from the perspective of spirit, kind of share that perspective through the same lyrics, or maybe adjust some lyrics that might be inspired. And she was like, oh my God, don't wait to do it. The ego's going to tell you, no, you're not, wait till later, wait till it's perfect. Don't just start. And I'm so thankful to her. And now, yeah, I have like maybe 8 remixes in. So whenever the song shows up in my life, I don't look for it. It just, comes up, and I feel that translation that, and so I put out a remix. I do what I can and put out a remix for it. So that's what I'm doing now. That's what it looks like now for me.
I love that. I love that. And you following your heart is so beautiful. Like you said, the ego will always creep in and say like, no, not now. Just wait. Like when I
Mm-hmm.
started my podcast, I was like, who the fuck are you to start a podcast? Like there is no reason why no one will listen at you. You will look
Mm-hmm.
stupid, blah, 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 blah. And then you just follow your heart. What, where did you find the strength to not listen to the ego, but to follow your heart?
I guess I was understanding the the games of the ego.
The ego thought
And so when
system.
yeah, the ego thoughts, I was just getting an understanding of it, and that it's all it's literally a whole illusion based on an illusion, because the ego itself is an illusion that we've believed at some point, and the course goes deeper into that. But it's just so interesting. It almost felt like, oh, this is what's happening in my mind. Like I could look at it kind of like a spiritual scientist, like an investigator, and I could step back and know that my thoughts weren't mine, and say like, oh, that's interesting. Like I'm not believing in this. I Even when I started to facilitate this group that just started 2-3 weeks ago, same question, just like you, Miguel. Who am I? Who am I to do this? Am I a course student enough? Am I a real teacher? Like, and then it's just like this whole course, this whole awakening and undoing is teaching us, it's undoing the roles of teaching that we understand in the world. It's undoing the role of a student as we understand it in the world. It's undoing learning the way we understand it, like in a certain order. No, knowledge is knowledge. Wisdom is wisdom. And when you access it, it's it's a completely backwards idea to the way the truth, divine truth works. And so we're learning to undo all of that. And so who am I to actually, like, all these patterns that are keeping me from starting the group, or, releasing the spirit remix, are really just things that are based on an old paradigm
Hmm.
of the way I think things should work and need to be, of what I was told, um, you know, would make you, what would be successful. And then so all these words are just retranslated. What is success? What would be real success to me? Like happiness, true happiness. And how do we achieve that? By following our heart and knowing that it will get scary, because we have patterns that are going to challenge that next step, because the moment we step into the light, that pattern dissolves, and it no longer has anything to hold on to that it's been holding on to for so long. So that's knowing that can empower you a lot, because you're like, oh, this is just like that little me that's really trying to hold on to safety, scared for greatness. How Marianne Williamson puts in her book, oh man, this quote is just, we all know it. And it just, that is, we're scared of our light. We're scared of our greatness. That is the ultimate thing we're scared of. We don't realize it until we start moving towards the light.
Hmm. And when you were speaking, of course, that was the talk. Like, okay, nice. So, what is the plan for Stefania with her song? What is the plan for his vision? Yes, she wants to be happy, but and I know that by just talking with you, there is no plan. And how
There
is
is
it
no plan.
to just for someone who, as always, like look up to plan and to like we are in a world where at 7 years old, like parents and teacher ask us, what do you want to do in life? And you're supposed to figure it out. And at 18 years old, everyone is scared because they don't know what to do and it's time to go to university and stuff like that. Like, if you
Mhm.
had the chance to maybe talk with your younger self or with younger people or just with people that don't know how to not plan and just follow your heart, like, how can you just step into the unknown and trust that everything will be all right?
Well, I would use my experience with guidance as a way to share with others. So the spirit, which is our inner guide, our divine internal teacher, divine guidance, all these different words that we have for what I call spirit, Holy Spirit. It gives us the vision to truth and it guides us towards our best, highest self, towards itself. It guides us towards itself because we are that self, and it's all one in the end. But it takes steps to undo that attachment to all those patterns. So I feel like there's nothing wrong with planning, but you do get to a point where you feel like planning might be pushing, planning might be too much effort, um, and planning might be based on fear of things not going a certain way.
Hmm.
And when it's coming from that space, then I think what we have to look at our relationship to planning. So planning in and of itself is not a bad thing. Um, as we go deeper into guidance, we plan less because we realize, damn, I'm really being held. Like that next decision led me to this, and I trusted this, and now this is working for me. I feel so at peace with this. I never thought I would work in this, and I'm doing it because it felt like the right next step. And look at like things are just you just feel the peace, you feel the excitement, and that goes leading you. You also feel when things are a little off. You kind of feel when something is, you know, and so you kind of use that as a way to navigate the things. But I think it's always leading us to more trust. So I would tell someone who feels comfortable with planning not to let go of planning, but to look at what the relationship with planning is. So if I'm planning because I'm scared certain things can happen or I need to know what's going to happen next, then I need to look at that, right? What in me feels scared that I can't control what's going to happen next because I'm going to look bad, because I'm going to be perceived because my worthiness depends on how I'm perceived, right? You go deeper, the layers go deeper. The question could be like, no, it just makes me uncomfortable not to know. Yeah, but why? But what is it that makes you uncomfortable? And so that helps us realize why we're planning. Now, if we're planning to like, okay, I want to have certain things that allow me to flow in a direction, but I'm not attached to this paper. I'm open to like, let this be the guide. And then if I feel that that's over or that doesn't need to be, then I have to be okay with that. And so I'm in a place personally, and I think just as an artist, it comes naturally, to be a creative is we're not big planners. We're very spontaneous. We're very in the moment. We, get things. We can plan, like, right, if I'm gonna take a trip to Europe, I'm gonna look at certain things. I gotta buy the flights. But it's a moment to moment trust about like, is this the moment to buy the trip? To buy the ticket? Or do I need to have all the tickets bought by this week because such and such
Hmm.
will not because then logically the plane tickets get more expensive and then it's not going to work out with me, right? So I'm doing the planning versus is today the time to, do I feel pulled towards like finding out about the planes and the flights? And if you feel that, then you go for that. Then today's, that's the moment. So it's like a moment to moment, day to day trust that's happening. Not just like this overarching trust, but this moment to moment trust. And I think that really allows us to access guidance more and more. And the more we do, the more we release the plan because we feel more confident in the divine truly supporting us. So it's just like a gentle step. It's a gentle process. It's still a process for me. I may seemingly be more advanced in time, but there's just It's just where my journey is. And maybe in other aspects of my life, I'm in a different chapter, of evolution, if we want to look at it, in the horizontal way. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like that, I think, and that's a huge part of going on this journey, you
Mm.
know, coming to that connection with divine guidance and real trust, liberating ourselves from control and from our own will and how things are supposed to be.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And it was precious the way you express it, because just by the way you phrase it, you remove the weight of there is something wrong. Like planning is wrong, or
Right.
following our ego is wrong. And you
Right.
just like you did with the word sins in the beginning, like the spiritual journey is not supposed to be heavy. It is not
Mm,
supposed to be heavy. And for myself, um I tend to have an extremist, like big type A competitor, which I fall into what's like, how can I run 1,000 miles before I can just take the next step? And you
mm,
were the one who said to me, like, hey, Jai, just take baby steps. And by taking baby step, and by being gentle with yourself, and remember that nothing is wrong, and that you can just like enjoy this journey of discovering the truth about yourself and life, it made the spiritual journey, sorry, fun and exciting and
mm.
beautiful. And so
Yeah,
thank
and
you
like
to
you
just,
said,
yes.
yeah, I said, you said, it can feel heavy, and that's a beautiful sign when it feels heavy. How we feel is such an important. In the Course in Miracles, it says the only right use of judgment is to notice how you feel, because that
Oh.
is showing you, it is a directional, as to who is driving the wheel. Is it
Mm,
the egoic mind or the spirit mind, right? The mind of love or the mind of fear? And how we feel is going to tell us there's some thoughts that I'm believing, even about being spiritual and being on this journey. Somehow, the perspective, the relationship to that process, to that evolution, to that self discovery can even be hijacked by the ego. So we do bypassing and we do things and it's an egoic perspective upon the spiritual journey. And that heaviness is also a sign of, so indifference may be a sign. Heaviness is also a sign that there's some beliefs that are there either not being looked at or really believed, to be fully true. And then we're giving strength and power to something that doesn't really define us, that really has no true power. So yeah, we could use it as a guidance. If it's feeling heavy, question your thoughts.
mm. Amen. Stefania, um, there is so much I would love to talk with you, but just to be,
This
I
is
know
fun.
your time is precious and we have like 15 minutes left, but I think we can do a part two at one point for sure.
I love
Um,
that. Yeah.
it will be a pleasure. So just before we fall into the five final questions and your question to me, um,
Okay.
just briefly, where can people find you?
Right. So Instagram, Spirit Led Steph. Yeah, Spirit Led Steph is my Instagram handle. I have a website that really goes a little deeper into my story and into the services. Those services are always being updated because when you live a life with the Spirit and of true guidance, things are always shifting and evolving. But let's say there's a, standard amount of things that I generally do, gifts that I want to serve in. Sometimes I do things more at certain points, but they're all there and available. And that's spiritledsteph.com or translationsofspirit.com. It's the same website, just two different sites. Um, and those are probably the best ways to reach me. Oh, and YouTube, which I know you're going to share the spirit remixes. Also, YouTube Spirit Led Steph, or you could look up Stefania Dominguez, which is another option to find. me and everything I'm doing on this journey. And if you want to join, for example, that group, and you're a Course in Miracles student and you'd like to join some other people online, or you're curious and you feel the call towards it, this may be for you. So it's open, it's donation based, and yeah, just happy to walk this journey with everyone else.
Beautiful. Everything will be shared in the show note for sure because I love your vision. I love who you are and I love what you do and people need to find about love. We are in a time in history where it's just the time to spread love and healing and not create separation anymore, not judging things as good or bad, but just finding love. So and I
Yeah.
feel that you are at the right place to do that. So thank you,
Thank you.
Stefan.
I think it's no longer, we're entering an era where it's no longer about like who I am. It's not about Stefania. It's not about Mikael. It's not about the images and the personas, but we're really entering into the frequency of love, right?
Mm,
We're entering into just recognizing each other and looking for that. And whatever channel vessel, right? Us being those channel vessels, calls to you more towards that frequency, then go towards that. But I think it's the age of stopping the idolization of a body, of a person, of a persona, of, like celebritizing anybody, even if it's in the spiritual world, and really just accessing the truth, that's being given, because it's for all of us, it's in all of us, and we're just all here to remind ourselves of it in different capacities through different talents, and yeah, different ways. All roads lead up to the same peak. So find your road. You're going anyways. Yeah.
thank you, Stefan. Um, so yes, before the final question, if your heart is aligned with it, do you have any question for me?
Mm.
And I cannot not answer.
Okay. Mm. Who is Mikael without hockey?
It's curious that you asked that question because my guest on the last episode, which is not, which maybe will ask the same questions.
Oh, really?
Really, so it's already answered, and briefly, it's honestly I don't know right now. I'm discovering who
Beautiful.
Michael is. Yes,
Yes.
I always
Yes.
thought I knew Michael, but that was not Michael. Mm.
Yeah. Past version.
Just
The past
identify.
is gone. Yeah.
Yes, it was a pure identification to something that made me feel love. But like you said, love is within us, not because am able to put a puck on the net or because I have big muscles or because I'm the perfect guy. No, fuck no. I realized like I'm tired of pretend to the world that I'm perfect. I'm not.
Mm.
I'm human and I deserve love even if I'm not perfect. And I deserve love even if I fucked up things, even if I'm skinny, even if I don't play hockey. Like I'm tired of trying to be perfect and that's where I'm
Yeah.
at right now. How can I just be me and step into receiving the truth of what I am without identifying to something that will make me think I'm someone. Yes. The,
Beautiful.
the question was beautiful, but it was stolen from another beautiful
I
man last
know.
week.
That's so funny. Like I connected to the mind, the one mind. The mind is one, so we connect all our thoughts, and that's a perfect reflection of it. Okay, then I would go to a practical question. Is that okay? Can I ask something different, or did you want to?
You can for sure. Maybe we will be 5 minutes late if it's okay for you.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think it's okay. It's okay. It
All right.
would just be when you're in your toughest time, right? When you feel darkness come upon you, seeming darkness, but it feels very real
Yeah.
to all of us. Have what tool, what strategy, what's something that you use to remember the truth?
Hmm. It's curious that you asked me that because lately I've kind of I don't like to use that word or to pretend that I can do that, but channel maybe
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
writing of a book, and it is a 25 pages book which I will publish like for free just to spread with the world. And there is a lot that I have a lot of tools for sure, but what I've realized within myself is that I was using the tools to not feel the deeper emotion and to not feel what was really there. So I would say first and foremost, use the dark. And again, like you said, it's not the dark, but use this tough time to really dive deep into what life is trying to show you. Um, what is the
Feel.
thing that you believed about yourself that is becoming a clash with the thing you are going through? Because if something is really tough and you are so attached to how hard it is sure that there is a part of your identity that is holding something. So use that to discover more about yourself, and just jump. Honestly, the dark time are there to feel it, and you are not there to overcome it or to run from it or to just escape it.
Hmm.
Just be with it. I think everything is okay, and you just have to be with it. But it's so hard when you are in the midst of a storm and everything is going shaky, everything is going dark, but you want to just stay and remain as you are, and remain in the storm. And I came from an athletic background where I tend to understand that the outside world is a reflection of our inside world. And if if I want to build bigger muscle, what would I do? I'll go to the gym. It's the same with life. How do you build resiliency, patience, love, emotional connection with your body? Go to the gym of life. And yes, it won't be funny, but no one said it was going to be always easy. But that's how you discover the truth of who you are, I think, and who you are meant to be. I hope it answered
Beautiful.
your question.
Yes, yes. And it makes me just think of one last thing that I think is important, that the darkest moments in my journey, because we've had dark moments pre-awakening, spiritual seeking. But post that, the darkest moments, which have been even more heavy and filled with thoughts that I didn't even know I had, those moments when I've moved through them, when I have felt them, because we need to feel non-judgment, just allow, and knowing that it's going to pass, because always this is a world of passing. This experience is, everything passes. The moments after, and I don't mean like a high, but it's just like there is an elation, a state of vibrancy, of peace that's, and it almost feels like you pass a level, like on a video game, like you surpass something, and now you're floating literally for the next 2-3 days. I have felt that,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, wow. And
That's
it's
the
like
peace
you,
muscle kicking in.
yeah, and it's you've released something that's been weighing you down, and now it's gone. You've moved through it. You felt it. You accepted it. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And that was my experience. So know that joy is on the other side. That is so important to remember.
Oh, yes. Yes. Finally, thank you for sharing. Finally, last four question, and it's really quick. You just
Okay.
you don't think. So complete
Okay.
my metaphor. Life is,
A game.
I love that. One thing you would love to share with the world if you had the opportunity to speak to everyone right now.
The truth of who Jesus really is.
Love that. One thing you are afraid that people see in you.
That they see in me.
Yes.
Competition.
Mm. If I pray for you tonight, what should I pray for?
Just the expansion of my heart, that it may continue to recognize the truth in all moments, that it can deeply rest in the trust and unfolding of what this whole experience is for all of us and how we each play our role in that. Mhm.
You'll be in my prayer tonight. And the last one, you are familiar with Caligo. So let's do 1 minute Caligo. So just start by saying, do you remember last year when we were speaking, and then go on?
Mm. Um, oh, Mika, do you remember last year when we were talking? I had my first interview on your
Yes.
podcast, and yeah, it's so interesting. And now it's been like a couple more, and we've expanded on all these different topics. And I just want to, applaud you for following your heart, for believing in your divine assignment, because even when we didn't know what it was, and now you've really gone there, and everything is just falling into place for you, and you can really see how people are showing up in your life. And now it's just, isn't it interesting how like that past life is just like a life gone? Like, who were we back then?
Mm.
Who was I when I was a musician? Who were you? And it's funny because it's still part of our lives. These things are still part of our lives because we still have a love for them, but the way we feel about it is just so different. Our relationship to all of it is so different. And so it's just so exciting to, first see how everything's unfolding for you. And wow, it's been like months now that I've been doing my group. And I remember being so worried, like all these egoic thoughts that came up about, not being capable or being fit for the part. And I can't see myself doing anything else. Like, this is where my heart is. And I'm so thankful also that I followed my heart and that we have the reflection of each other to follow each other's heart. Like, let's always keep the people around us who reflect that truth, these witnesses to love and truth, as the Course in Miracles calls it. So, yeah, I'm just feeling so thankful, so proud of you, and I can't wait to see you continue shining. Shine your light, help others to heal while you heal yourself. And I'll do the same because we're always learning, we're always expanding. So, thank you for your friendship, for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefania. That's what I've been, everyone, when you have someone who is purely in love to do a Caligo, she reflects everything on you and make me remember how your year was going instead of hers. But thank you, honestly, Stefania. I just want to take 15 second, 30 second to acknowledge you. Um, I am very grateful to have you in my life. Even if there is distance, I have the opportunity to connect with you and to chat with you. And I'm very sure and
Mm.
that people will resonate with a lot that you share today, because love is not something that anyone cannot connect with it. Love is the universal language, and you speak
Amen.
pretty fluently the love language. So thank you for the last hour and a half, and it will be a first part of many, I hope, and wish you everything but the best, and to your beautiful daughter and your family too. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on the Open Podcast.
Bless your heart, Michael. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. We walk all together. Ah, feeling very thankful, very blessed to be here.
Have an amazing day, Stefania.
You too. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for listening to the entire episode. Thank you for staying with us. And before I share a beautiful remix of the song Impossible from Stefania, I just want to express you how grateful I am for you, and to say to you that if something resonated with you, please just share and leave a review, leave a feedback so that I can serve better, so that this has a greater impact on people's life. And if you want to connect with Stefania again, all the link would be in the show notes. So thank you. Thank you, and may the peace of God be with you today. May the love of God be with you today, and remember that the world is at a better place with you. Thank you, and without further waiting, Impossible, the remix from Stefania Dominguez. Enjoy.
I remember years ago, I thought I had found true love, and it would give me all I'd want. I did. My illusion, my mistake, I'd forgotten who I was, seeking out to fill that space. I did. And now that I've woken up out of this dream, eyes open, now I can see. I can hold it and I gotta tell.